Walk into any Sephora in New York, Paris, or Dubai, and you will see a wall of Korean skincare. Glass bottles, minimalist font, snail mucin, rice essence, names that sounds poetic in translation, and shelves arranged like a shrine to a country that apparently has unlocked the secret to perfect skin. But here's what nobody tells you. If you walked into Olivion in Seoul tomorrow, the largest beauty retailer in Korea, and asked the staff about half of these iconic K-beauty brands, many of them would give you a blank stare. I'm a Korean doctor in Gangnam, Seoul, and today I'm going to show you something the global beauty industry would rather you not think about too carefully. This is the K-beauty paradox, the phenomenon where products marketed globally as authentic Korean skincare are, in many cases, designed for export first, the only later, sometimes never, sold to the people they claim to represent. I want to be clear about something before we go further. This is not a takedown. K-beauty as a category has genuinely transformed how the world thinks about skincare. The emphasis on hydration, barrier function, gentle activities, and layered routines, these are real contributions. As a medical doctor, I prescribe principles that align every day. But the gap between the image of K-beauty and the reality of how Koreans actually approach skincare is wider than most consumers realize. And understanding that gap will change how you shop forever. Let's start with a pattern I call reverse importation. Here's how it typically works. A small Korean cosmetic company, sometimes with no significant domestic presence at all, develops a product. Instead of competing in Korea's brutally saturated home market, where Olivion alone stocks thousands of SKUs, they bypass it entirely. They pitch directly to American buyers at trade shows. They send the product to TikTok creators in Los Angeles. They optimize Amazon listing for English language search terms. If the product gains traction abroad, particularly in the United States, something fascinating happens. Korean media begins reporting on it.
This brand is taking America by storm. American beauty editor called it the next big thing.
And only then, armed with the borrowed credibility of foreign success, does the brand return to Korea and attempt to sell to Korean consumers. The product travels in a cycle, designed in Korea, validating in America, re-imported as a global success story. And the Korean consumer who was never the target audience to begin with is now being sold a product whose entire identity. Sorry, I do my best. Is now being sold a product whose entire identity was built somewhere else. I want you to sit with that for a moment, because it raises an uncomfortable question. If a product is designed, formulated, and marketed primarily for Western consumers, is it really Korean skincare? Or is it skincare manufactured in Korea, which is a meaningfully different thing? So, what do Koreans actually use? In my clinic, I see hundreds of patients a month. I ask everyone about their routine, and I can tell you, with very few exceptions, the brands that dominate my patients' bathroom shelves are not the brands you see on TikTok. Korean customers gravitate towards a different set of priorities. They tend to favor medical doctor-developed lines, Cosmax stickers, sold through pharmacies and clinics. They read ingredient lists with a level of literacy that genuinely surprises my international colleagues. And they are frankly skeptical of anything that markets itself too aggressively. The aesthetic is also different. The bottles in a Korean women's bathrooms are often plain, white, medical looking. Many are unbranded enough that you wouldn't recognize them in a photograph Because in Korea, the social signal of skincare is not which brand you bought. It's whether your skin looks good. The product is invisible. The result is the point. Compare this to the global K-beauty aesthetic, pastel color, character mascot, packing engineered for unboxing videos. That visual language was not built for the Korean consumer. It was built for the algorithm. English pronunciation is very hard. Okay. None of this happens by accident. There are structural reasons the Korean beauty industry behaves this way, and understanding them helps you see the full picture. First, the domestic market is a battlefield. Korea has more cosmetic brands per capita than almost any country on earth. Margins are thin, customer expectations are extreme. A new brand trying to break into Olivion is fighting for shelf space against a giant with decades of relationships. For a small manufacturer, exporting is often easier than competing at home. Second, there is a manufacturing infrastructure most consumers know nothing about. Companies called ODMs, original design manufacturers, produce a formulation that any brand can purchase, rebrand, and sell as their own. Two of these companies, Kolmar Korea and Cosmax, manufacture a remarkable portion of the product sold globally as K-beauty, a brand you discovered through an American influencer and a brand sitting in an Olivion in Gangnam, May, in some cases share the exact same factory line. Third, and this is the part the industry doesn't advertise, Western consumers are willing to pay a premium for the narrative of Korean skincare. The story of 10-step routines, ancestral ingredient, glass skin philosophy. The narrative has commercial value. And when narrative has value, an industry will form around manufacturing it. I want to be careful here. I'm not saying these products are bad. Many are well formulated, safe, and effective. What I'm saying is the story you are buying. The implication that these products represent how Korean women or Korean medical doctor actually care for their skin. That story is, in many cases, a marketing artifact. So how do you, as a consumer, navigate this? I will give you a framework I share with my international patients. First, decouple country of origin from quality. A product made in Korea is not automatically better than a product made anywhere else. The question is not where it was made, but how and for whom. Korean manufacturing is in many cases excellent, but excellency is in the formulation, not in the geography. Second, look for the products that are sold meaningfully in Korea, not just listed on the Korean website for credibility. Third, if a brand has presence in major Korean dermatology clinics, in actual Olivion stores, in the routines of Korean reviewers, writing in Korean for Korean audience, that is a signal. If a brand exists primarily on English language, social media, and Western retailers, ask yourself who that brand was built for. Third, prioritize ingredient literacy over brand storytelling. Learn what niacinamide does. Understand the difference between chemical and physical sunscreens. Recognize when a traditional Korean ingredient is doing real work versus serving as marketing texture. Once you can read a formula, the country on the label matters far less. Fourth, and this is the one I feel most strongly about as a clinician, be skeptical of routines that prescribe many steps. The Korean 10-step routine became a viral concept abroad, but most of my Korean patients with excellent skin use 4 to 6 products, sometimes fewer. Skin barrier health is often a function of restraint, not maximalism. The industry profits when you buy more. Your skin often benefits when you buy less. I want to end with a thought. K-beauty as a global phenomenon has democratized skincare in genuinely valuable ways. It interested the world to gentle formulations, to the importance of hydration, to the idea that skincare can be considered layered, ritualistic. Those contributions are real. I do not want them dismissed. But I think we are at a moment where the consumer deserves more than a story. The next phase of K-beauty, the version that earns the trust of a more sophisticated global audience, cannot be built on borrowed
authenticity.
It has to be built on transparency, on formulation that holds up under clinical scrutiny, on brands that sell to Korean consumers because they are good, not because they need a stamp of credibility for export. That is a standard I hold myself to as a medical doctor and as someone building a brand of my own. And it is the standard I think you as a consumer are entitled to demand. The next time you reach for a Korean skincare product, do not ask whether it looks Korean. Ask whether it would survive being sold to a Korean dermatologist. That is a very different question. And it is a question this industry eventually will have to answer. I'm Dr. Lee. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.